I am a child of the Great Plains. I grew up in Red Cloud, hometown of Pulitzer Prize-winning author Willa Cather. Her prose about the plains have inspired people for a generation. As a boy, I rode my pony Spirit nearly every morning and reveled in the opportunity to check the cows or ride a fence row or eat mulberries from a tree. As a boy, I knew I was cared for and loved by a large extended family, friends, and a great hometown. I'm a tag-along, a bonus baby. I'm the last of 6 kids. The family story is that my folks went to Texas to buy a bull, but came home with me. I wish I could make that up. Red Cloud's about 1,000 people in south central Nebraska. There were 23 in my kindergarten class, the same number as in my graduating class. I got to do everything. I got to play sports, I got to be the lead in the musical, I got to participate in clubs, I got to go to 4-H horse shows. I had to be really thoughtful about who I might invite to a movie because the nearest movie theater was 40 miles away. As I grew older and began to understand a bit more about the world, I started to get an odd message from my parents and other adult mentors. Your future's someplace else. Nobody ever used those exact words, but the message was clear. You're a bright, articulate kid with terrific prospects. We'll see you for the holidays. Eesh, that is devastating. We love you. In fact, we love you so much, you should live someplace else. This is no way to build a community. Nebraska is terrific. Nearly everything and everyone works. Comparatively, we have great public schools, we have an engaged citizenry, the streets are safe and clean, the people are kind and giving. Earlier this week, a website, Wallet Hub, said that Nebraska is the 5th happiest state in the country. Nebraska has what people want. Most Nebraskans know that, but unfortunately, I've heard too many times when a community leader proposes a big idea, and the response to that person is, we can't do that. We can't dream that. We don't have enough money. The truth is, our abundance goes far beyond our people, systems, and culture. In the next 50 years, we're going to see a transfer of wealth of some $600 billion. Now, there's always a transfer of wealth from generation to generation as parents pass away and leave their estates to their kids. But if the children no longer live in the communities where that wealth was made and accumulated, we not only lose that human capital, we also ultimately lose that financial capital. Imagine with me, what if just 5% of that $600 billion was given back to the places where it was made and accumulated? That's $30 billion. $30 billion. That could have an exponential impact on the future of our hometowns. In the 21st century, with new technologies and the internet, more and more people can live and work wherever they choose. I think our community economic development question today should be, why do I want to live and work and raise my kids in this community? We need to give talented young people good reasons to stay, to return, to join us. People attraction has to be our top priority. Sorry. To embrace these opportunities, the Nebraska Community Foundation was formed in 1993. I went to work there in 1997. The Nebraska Community Foundation is not a typical community foundation. We're not a charity. We don't make grants. We empower people. We're a community development organization focused on building long-term trusting relationships with our community partners and vesting decision-making power in local leaders. We've learned a lot. One of the most important things we've learned is this work has to happen together as partners. We don't do things for people. We don't do things to people. We walk hand in hand with our volunteer community-affiliated fund leaders. Our flat, power-with partnership model is working. It's held up as a model of rural development, and we're asked to share this story all across the United States and internationally. Community leaders are having more and more optimistic conversations with their youth and young adults. The picture you see on the screen are the graduates of Imperial High School. Each of them are holding a mailbox. In that mailbox is a personalized invitation for them to return home after they've completed their education. That's powerful, especially if you compare it with what we've historically done. Lots of places and lots of people have this habit of giving high school seniors luggage for graduation. Affiliated fund leaders across the Nebraska Community Foundation network are inviting their friends and neighbors to be a part of this. Last year, NCF and its 220 affiliated funds around the state received over 8,500 gifts. Last year, more than $29 million was reinvested in our hometowns, $290 million since 1994. Our network has grown fivefold in the past 10 years and now has $130 million in assets. More than 300 people have included their hometown in their estate plan, and those plans we estimate to be some $60 million. This is awesome. We are totally proud of what's happened and all the progress we've made. But if we compare those numbers with just a tiny fraction of the transfer of wealth, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Remember, 5% of $600 billion is $30 billion. How could we use $30 billion invested wisely as a margin of excellence in our hometowns to have better education, wellness, prosperity, quality of life that would attract talent and young people? I totally should have known that one. I'm an economist. I'm an economist, and economics is a social science. So there's lots of things we don't know, but a few we do. One of which is that capital in all of its forms flows to certainty and optimism. So if we want capital, human capital and financial capital, to flow to our hometowns, to flow to the places that we live in and love, we have to be positive and optimistic. Well, the good news is there's a whole lot of good news out there. Check out these headlines. I'm trying to figure, there we go. Look at these. Focus on community brings big growth to Pender. Young adults returning to rural towns. Young Nebraskans can live and work anywhere. Imperial gives them reasons to come home. You can go home again. McCook, a great place to be a kid. We have the pleasure of working with dozens and dozens of communities throughout the state where there are many more young families than there were 10 years ago. We've surveyed 7,000 middle and high school students about their perceptions of their communities. Only 12% of those kids said their hometown is too small, and the majority of them said they would be delighted as adults to come back and live and work at home if career opportunities were available to them. This is not the rural narrative we're used to seeing or hearing. Charitable giving has become a big part of helping communities use people attraction as their primary strategy. In O'Neill and Holt County, they have a $4 million endowment that's helping to underwrite their countywide community economic development efforts. 475 individuals and young families have moved back to Holt County in the past few years. In McCook, there's a $2.2 million endowment, the payout of which is being used for youth engagement and to work on arts and culture. Last month in Ravenna, school kids got to experience the eclipse with an astronaut. And what about my hometown of Red Cloud? Check this headline out. 20 years ago, Red Cloud seemed all but dead. Now the hometown of Willicather is changing its fate. Heritage tourism and early childhood development are two of the primary strategies that Red Cloud is using for people attraction. There are many graduates from the late 1990s and early 2000s who have moved back home to Red Cloud to raise their kids and build their businesses. Elementary classes are significantly larger than what they were. Red Cloud is focused on its assets. 8,000 people a year come to Red Cloud to visit Cather sites. 80% of those people live out of state. What if just 20% of those people spent the weekend as opposed to the day? Thanks to charitable giving and philanthropy, we now have a full-time Heritage Tourism Development Director in Red Cloud. We think the economic impact of heritage tourism in Red Cloud could exceed $3 million a year. This December, Red Cloud is going to open a state-of-the-art early childhood development center to serve 80 students. This $3.5 million project, which includes a $1.5 million endowment, is going to be an enormous source of attracting people to say, yes, we want you to live and work and raise your family in our hometown. There is no magic bullet for this work. For years and years, I've said our work is patient and tenacious. But there are a few things that we've learned and some commonalities that we've identified in communities that are doing this work and doing this work well in attracting young people home. When they combine a collective vision for the future of their community with distributed leadership, lots and lots of people rowing in the same direction, discretionary capital, and by that I mean flexible money, and lots of citizens and residents engaged in the process, people are magnetizing their hometowns. It is fascinating to watch. It is fascinating to be a part of. It's super encouraging. It's been a long time since I sat on the back of my horse and ate mulberries. Nebraska is a great place to live, work, and raise our families. It's our job to share that with others. Thank you.